Il leur a fait plus de mal qu'on pouvait le croire, hein, finalement.
Ouais, un sérieux coup derrière la tête.
Ah ouais, puis qui met Chelsea en plus en grande confiance. Alors attention de ne pas faire d'excès de confiance. En face, c'est le Real. Mais
That's a tempting ball and
il va y aller, personne qui sort sur lui.
Et avec l'appel de Werner, Kanté face à Varane, le ballon en retrait, c'est bien fait. Pulisic avec Chilwell.
Les situations qui sont en train de se créer.
Il y a panique à bord de la défense du Real Madrid. Hein.
Ouais, là, il va falloir vite corriger ça. Là, carrément, il faudrait peut-être faire passer Nacho au couloir gauche et faire monter dans le milieu de terrain Marcelo. Hein. On n'est pas obligé d'attendre que ça vienne du banc, la solution, quand on a un gros problème tactique. Ah.
Le voilà, Nacho avec ce ballon qui n'arrivera pas jusqu'à Vinicius avec Christensen, Azpilicueta, Jorginho, Kanté qui s'est fait piéger par le retour de Marcelo.
J'ai l'impression que c'est ce qu'ils ont fait, hein, que Nacho est passé couloir gauche, que Marcelo est monté d'un cran.
Et ils vous ont entendu?
Bah non, mais ils n'ont pas besoin d'entendre, c'est surtout peut-être qu'ils ont entendu le banc. Hein.
Ah, le constat est là. Hein,
ouais, là il ne faut pas être non plus un ingénieur pour voir qu'ils ont de gros problèmes.
Un expert, ça suffit.
Dans l'axe, qui 3 défenseurs centraux servent à rien si c'est pour reculer les 3 en même temps. Il vaut mieux faire monter quelqu'un dans le milieu.
Et Varane qui réclame du soutien devant lui, qui n'obtiendra pas par Carvara qui était plein axe. Modric décalé à droite. Casemiro avec Benzema qui va récupérer ce ballon de la part de Carvajal. Et revenir dans l'axe avec Modric.
Et Benzema qui chaque fois
il donne le tempo.
Ben oui, parce qu'il est seul devant, il garde les ballons, il essaie de donner de la vitesse après au jeu du Real. Voilà, à ses collègues de se mettre au niveau.
Oui, la presse sportive madrilène, après son doublé à Cadix, parlait justement de Benzema dépendance.
Chaque fois que sur la prise de balle ou sur la passe,
9 poena, 3 asistencije, 3 skoka.
Le terrain fait la différence du côté de Chelsea. Il s'ouvre carrément une possibilité de jouer des face à face avec la défense.
strange for Chelsea. It's hardly rained in England for weeks.
Trời nóng, sao mày không đi mua điều hòa đi? Mày ngồi mày ôm cái điện thoại suốt.
Để tôi tìm mua online cho nó
On to
rẻ.
Mount.
Nó rẻ.
On to Chilwell. Can't quite produce the telling cross. Here's Benzema making himself available again. He's got plenty of support this time with Kroos. Now Vinicius. Kroos again. Goes out off Christensen for a Real Madrid corner.
Once again, that should have been a chance for Chelsea up the other end. There wasn't a midfield player in sight when they were breaking forward there, Chelsea. They just didn't make the most of it again.
There have been a couple of rather tentative crosses from Chilwell. Kroos to Modric from the corner, back to Marcelo. Benzema, brilliant! He's done it again. The short corner still led to a ball to the far post. Chelsea didn't deal with it, and Karim Benzema has rammed in the equaliser.
Well, what form he's showing. And another brilliant bit of play from him. They work it well. Goes out to Marcelo. He goes long. It's Varane at the far post. He wins the ball in. It's Casemiro at the far post. Then Militao wins it. That's been equated to the player he's up against. He jumps early, no problems there. Militao wins the next ball. Great first touch with the head from Benzema. He's almost controlled this with his head just to set it up for him to volley. And he strikes it perfectly. No chance for the goalkeeper.
Well, I said earlier, it is his time. There have been others. He's always been a very good forward in his time in Madrid, but he hasn't been one to seek the headlines, to seek the publicity. But goodness knows what they'd be like without him now. In the 29th minute, his 28th goal of the season.
I don't know what the stats are, but he must have touched it probably 10, 11 times. And each one's been a really good touch. He's brought others into the play. His movement's been excellent. He's found that bit of space.
Christensen conceded. That was a tight call on Casemiro as offside, but he did look level as he pulled away there with the last Chelsea defender. And well, that is not as easy as Benzema made it look. A wonderful piece of technique. The touch and then the subsequent volley. Jorginho. Conte. Chelsea have missed some chances and not made the most, even when they haven't made it.
Well, as that corner was taken, I was talking about the chance that Chelsea were having at the other end, because they've had 2 or 3 times when they've gone through and not found that right pass. Chilwell, as you mentioned, a couple of tentative crosses. Mount trying to play the ball into the box. Hit him in the mid-drift.
Yeah.
Here's that leap again from Casemiro. It's a good early jump. Militao does well, but that's the moment where he creates the goal. That touch with his head. A lot of players would just be flicking it on. He's trying to control it with his head, set it up for himself, and he just smashes it past the goalkeeper.
Well, no clean sheet for Chelsea tonight. They've had a huge number of them under Thomas Tuchel. Courtois. So he got height on his side. Good judgment, good throw. And Vinicius is away past Jorginho, who's not the quickest Chelsea player by any means. Confronted by Chilwell and others who'd come across, leaving gaps to the right. Benzema clipping it in. Toni Kroos doesn't shoot very often. And couldn't pull it back in, trying to get the bend. Zinedine Zidane much happier now.
There you have the problem. Here's Kroos with a strike. He's just trying to wrap his foot round it and bend it into that far corner. When Vinicius Junior went up against Jorginho, there was only going to be one winner there. That's the problem with Jorginho as a holding midfield player. He's not particularly quick.
No, I think it's one of the reasons why Chelsea play with 3 at the back, so they can get Jorginho, that obviously has other qualities. We've seen a real array of his passing already tonight. But that third centre-back just helps them out. And he gets caught with players running in behind him. Casemiro's header. Great first half an hour to the first leg of the first semi-final of the Champions League. Marcelo. And Modric. Quite come off for Real, but they're winning a few more second balls now, but they're still getting into these situations where they look vulnerable defensively, however many players they have back. Chelsea with players prepared to attack the space with the ball. Christensen. Rudiger. The referee didn't. Very close. And looks as though it went through the man Mount to get to the ball. Mason Mount trying to pick himself up and get back into proceedings, but he felt that one, and he's still looking at the referee.
Well, that was the same challenge he gave a foul for earlier on in the game. Militao just stretching and winning the ball, going through Mount to get there probably.
Christensen. Zinedine Zidane down beneath us, waving his team further up the pitch, not to drop too deep and make it too far from back to front.
There's that challenge again. It's a good challenge, no question about that. Militao gets to the ball first. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
And there was no second leg involved, so Mason Mount's yelp was more, I think, that he just felt the force of part of what physical football is. 35 minutes have sped by here. Pacey football, probing football, exciting football, worthy of the competition. Conte, Pulisic comes back to him via Varane, only a half clearance, just too high for Werner at the back post.
Once again, it was Conte having that little bit of space to run with the ball, and he runs with it at pace. That time he found a good pass out wide. Again, it's not a good cross into the box. Not that one. It was the first one that was blocked. That was a good effort. Pulisic.
Rudiger. Now Jorginho. It's becoming a bit of a test of the drainage here, which these days at training grounds are usually of the same standard as the main stadia.
Certainly not much in it in terms of possession. Better chances have come Chelsea's way so far.
Pulisic. Jorginho. Nicely into Mount. On to Chilwell. It's a regular combination down that left-hand side for Chelsea. Mount again. Jorginho. Benzema back to try and get bodies behind the ball. In the end, Thiago Silva gets the deflection. Chelsea get another corner.
Well, when he started to think about shooting, I thought it was going to be the wrong option, but he strikes it well.
Player who was let go by PSG's contract ran down. They did make him an offer, I understand, but it was too late. He'd committed himself. So I'm a man of my word. Said I was going to Chelsea. And the coach he said it to at PSG was the one who is now coaching him at Chelsea.
Perhaps he knew something.
Well, Courtois just started to stumble, but he just looked a bit tentative. He wasn't needed anyway.
Thibaut Courtois didn't have a great start to his Real Madrid career. He wasn't liked by the fans. They loved Keylor Navas. He didn't play well for quite some time, but he certainly found his form now. He had an excellent season this year.
Marcelo chased by Pulisic, and that is a yellow card. Always worry when you see the red, but he saw it in his wallet, his referee's wallet there. Danny McAlee. It was a bit of a despairing lunge by the Chelsea goal scorer here. I think he knew what was coming after that.
Yeah, he did well, Marcelo, just to go past Christensen, chopped it across him.
He's still got plenty of drive in those legs. Kroos. Nacho. It's fair to say it's not the youngest side Real Madrid have ever put out for a Champions League semi-final. Rudiger. Now Jorginho. Chased by Modric, and then the tackle from Dani Carvajal.
Carvajal may have a problem here. He's just signalled to the bench. Confirmation of that yellow card for the American.
Carvajal was out for a few weeks earlier in the year, the hamstring problem, and then when he came back, he hurt again. He did start in the game against Betis on Saturday, but I think it's fair to say it's going to be put to the test in a match of this intensity on a pitch which you're going to be stretching for, with those sort of things happening, the slipping and sliding.
And he's also playing in a position that I don't think he's comfortable in at the moment. He's not quite sure, like Marcelo, when to come in and when to stay wide.
And this is Junior. Marcelo slipped. And off goes Conte again. Pulisic. gets the free kick.
Here's the goal again. Marcelo with the deep cross. Casemiro with the header. Militao with a little flick on.
That's a great angle, actually, isn't it? Because it shows how far the ball was going back behind Benzema and what he had to do to reach it in the first place, let alone dispatch it. 5 minutes to go to half-time. Kroos. Nacho. Marcelo. Benzema's on the move again. Conte. Squeeze it through to Pulisic. And this is where Chelsea have found ways to progress. Timo Werner.
Oh, there's another opportunity again. Not a midfield player in sight for Real Madrid, as this is poked beyond the first player. Timo Werner trying to go down the outside of Varane. Varane was quite happy for him to go on the right foot, away from goal. Good defending in the end from the Frenchman.
Werner wasn't always prolific in the Bundesliga. He suddenly had a really hot season and it got him his move. But it doesn't look like a striker who really expects to score, who's just gone off the boil a bit. But here's Conte. He's going to get, I'm sure, more chances the way Chelsea are playing. Mount. Conte. Challenged by Militao. Didn't quite have the room to run it forward. There was a time, a long time, Stuart, where the first games in these two-legged affairs, whatever round in the competition, were always very cagey, tactical, attritional. But that hasn't been the case for some time. Teams realise that they can really build towards getting through after the second game by what they do on the front foot in the first game. Chelsea, of course, got an away goal here, but an away goal for Liverpool in a 3-1 defeat didn't count for too much in the end in the last round.
One passing midfield player trying to play it to the other one. That's where they wanted a free kick. Azpilicueta just trying to play it round the corner. Marcelo just about caught him.
Back in his native land, of course. Signed just after Chelsea won the Champions League for the only time in their history, 2012, beating Bayern in Munich. It was a great achievement. They probably weren't the best side in the competition, but they went about it a very effective way. Won it on penalties, you might recall. Well, I think the conditions are playing a part in this. People are committing themselves, sliding in. There's a squeal again from Dani Carvajal.
It's Chilwell who's down. He certainly hasn't made the most of his opportunities today. 2 or 3 times he's got down that left-hand side with space, just needed to whip the ball into the 6-yard box, try to be too clever, or try to find something that wasn't really there.
Varane. Now Nacho. Back with Kroos. In 1 or 2 stoppages, we'll see how long will be added on at the end of this first half, which has been very easy on the eye, I must say. Chelsea certainly not coming here with a holding operation in mind, getting at Real Madrid. And they'll probably feel And it's their own failings that they should be in front at half-time. Got into better positions than Real have, and it took an outstanding equaliser from Karim Benzema to bring the scoreline back to parity. Well, nothing added on as it turned out, but a very good first half for the neutrals and moments of splendour for each team. The goal from Benzema cancelling out a solo effort in the end by Christian Pulisic, who kept his nerve in the penalty area and picked a way through. Benzema blasted a way through with a venomous volley. And at half-time in the first leg of this first Really could have had 2 or 3, Stuart, in the first half.
Well, they should have had 2 or 3. We had that early chance from Timo Werner. Good save from Thibaut Courtois. But on the break, with Conte running forward, Werner just pulling out to the right-hand side. They didn't get that final pass right. And a couple of poor crosses as well from Chilwell down the left-hand side. It was a very good watch in that first half.
Chelsea get the second half underway. They took the lead through Christian Pulisic, but were pegged back by an excellent piece of opportunism from Karim Benzema. That's where we are. We go into the second part of this first leg. Pulisic trying to weave a way through. Chelsea trying to get back into the position that they were so often in the first half, particularly with N'Golo Conte driving into space. There's a lovely turn here from Mount. And Courtois has certainly been down in the tunnel, joking and having chats with his former teammates.
Once again, Mason Mount went past Luka Modric as if he wasn't there. He struggled defensively today, Luka Modric.
I think Real generally have struggled defensively. Obviously Sergio Ramos has had that knee surgery, and he's not just a very fine player but a massive personality for the team. It would always be better with him in the lineup. The shape hasn't looked quite right. Chelsea haven't punished them though. Whether they will be able to attain those kind of attacking positions in the second half, we're about to find out. That's too long for Werner.
There was a great example. Mason Mount went that little bit shorter. Militao came out from his centre-half position right into a midfield area, and then it was 1v1. Better pass, and it was Timo Werner against Varane. But it does look as though Casemiro is going to be more disciplined in this second half. He's just going to sit in front of the centre-halves. Quite often he was caught out of position in that first period.
Hasn't been too much for Thiago Silva to be tested with. A goal coming from not a direct set play. It's worked short, kind of a second ball in by Marcelo, then a header back across the face of the goal. Another touch. All those touches Chelsea will be ruining, and then the goal delivered with real authority by Benzema. Pulisic, Azpilicueta. Caught by Kroos, not in the mind of the referees, given the game every chance, as they say. Certainly hasn't been pernickety. It's a mistake by Marcelo, and Conte gets there, and Werner blocked by Militao. Marcelo's mistake, he got away with it.
What a reverse pass that was from Conte. He looks like he's going to play it into midfield, where there was an easy pass to Mason Mount, but he just plays it round the corner. Good defending from Militao, gets round on the cover.
Chelsea have been pretty successful with their set pieces, even before Tuchel took over. They decide to go short, and they've got a good angle now, but not a good ball in. And challenge. Mount couldn't provide the accuracy that time. Well, there's plenty of time to be involved in a semi-final with a second leg to come. Marco Asensio, I think, would be a little bit of a surprise omission. Probably a victim of the change in formation. Modric. Nacho getting himself into the left wing back position.
Well, he's had a little kick there, Azpilicueta.
Cross goes Thiago Silva. Of course, has played in plenty of semi-finals, but the one that he didn't play in is the one that probably he most regrets, the 7-1 defeat. He's up against one of the Germans who was in emphatic form that day. Toni Kroos scored a couple of goals in Belo Horizonte. One of the great pages in the history of the World Cup. Unless you're Brazilian, of course. Jorginho, who is Brazilian but plays for Italy. There's a turnover here that might be costly to Chelsea. Benzema fancies even the more difficult angles, but just rushed the final execution of the shot.
Yeah, Chelsea gave the ball away in a bad area. Comes onto his right foot. You can see again he's trying to bend it into that far corner. Gets it all wrong. Done too many things badly today. That was one of them.
Here's Rudiger. Werner again trying to run off the shoulder of one of the centre-backs. It was Militao that time. Pretty similar stats. It was 50-50 first half possession. Chelsea had more attempts on target. But it's 1-1, 5 minutes into the second half.
So it's still Chelsea looking the more threatening. Playing the game on the front foot. And again, you see Kroos going into a left-sided centre-back position. Nacho ends up as the wing-back. Marcelo's in midfield. Obviously done a lot of work on this shape. Zidane and his coaching staff. Not sure it's really worked so far.
Conte made a run to join the front of the attack. He's repositioned now. Rudiger's still got the ball while all that was going on. Chelsea, incidentally, have never won a Champions League semi-final away match. They've drawn 4 and lost 3. Mount. It's a little slower the tempo at the start of the second half, as if both coaches have made points maybe about the more orderly part of their game rather than the attacking side of it, just to make sure they're looking a bit less vulnerable. Retrieved by Rudiger. Tries a expansive ball to Azpilicueta. Was covered by Pulisic, who gets his ankle tapped by Marcelo.
Yeah, on that occasion, Rudiger didn't quite get the right distance on the forward pass. Marcelo just clipping Pulisic.
I mentioned that 7-1 that Thiago Silva didn't play, and he did, Marcelo, of course, for Brazil.
If I remember rightly, when most of the goals were being scored, he wasn't in the picture.
No. It's a real sense of disbelief throughout that proud footballing nation. This was the sort of position that he was in a lot, and he's actually played a part in the goal, of course, and he's trying to get Benzema in the action again. It's a bit tight in that corner. Chelsea have a very impressive list of substitutes. Slightly less so for Real, but they do have Eden Hazard. A rare sighting of him. One of Chelsea's greats, who just hasn't had the luck, if you like, to yet be cast in that role for Real Madrid. Massive move for him. He's scored 4 and assisted in 5 goals in 37 appearances. Best part of 2 seasons now he's been here. So that's very low numbers on all counts. Carvajal none the worse for 1 or 2 of those injury scares in the first half. Touched off by Kroos. Benzema. Marcelo and Benzema again. Casemiro, touch on from Modric. It's nicely played, and what a move that would have been if it had got through to Vinicius Junior.
Yeah, that's much better from Real Madrid. Just starting to get a bit of control in that midfield area now. A couple of decent passes from that man there. Benzema linking up with Marcelo down the left-hand side.
Militao, back to Varane. Well, it's been a better 10 minutes for the home side at the start of the second half. And Carvajal gives it away to the other number 2, Tony Rudiger. Contact, set off again and influenced the play like he did in the first half. Same applies to Pulisic, but he slipped. And the referee had a bit of a think about that before he gave the free kick Chelsea's way.
He just couldn't get away there. He may have slipped over there, Pulisic.
Well, it's not raining quite as hard, but it's still pretty slippery. Conte. Chelsea had Sevilla in their Champions League group. They also had a round of 16 game against Atletico Madrid. They got through. So action against Spanish sides is not unusual for them this season.
That was good movement from Chelsea. Once again, Mount dragged one of the centre halves out. Chilwell fancied his chances against Carvajal when the ball was played forward. Just wasn't quite good enough.
And his presence making Varane play it out. Throw to Chelsea. Well, he's not often seen sitting down, Thomas Tuchel. Only on his feet, encouraging, sometimes complaining. Advantage played, but didn't lead to anything. That was a poor ball in the end by Modric's standards. Chilwell. He's got the left wing berth ahead of Marcos Alonso, who's has so much history in this part of the world. His grandfather was in the great Real side of the 1950s, Marquitos. And his own father was a youth player at Real Madrid, but made his name with Barcelona, played in a European Cup final. Ben Chilwell is the man just holding down that left wing berth, but he has played better, I think, than in this recent run than he has tonight. Been just a little bit apprehensive at times.
Yeah, particularly when he's got into good areas and he's had time on the ball. Both of those players, over the course of the last season or so, have kept out Emerson, who could be in the Italian national side come the European Championships.
Yeah, he's on the bench. He was mentioned by Thomas Tuchel actually for his great attitude in being asked about other players who haven't been getting as many minutes as they would want. He said, well, Emerson, he never misses a beat at training. He doesn't play very often, but he's absolutely ready. I know when I call upon him, he'll be ready to go. So he's still here and he's still in the manager's thoughts, but he's spent a lot of time bench warming, as they say. Oh, Militao taking a chance against Mount. More measured second half, Stuart, isn't it?
It certainly is. I think that's because Real Madrid's midfield are just playing that little bit deeper now. It's not the space for Chelsea to counter-attack when they're winning the ball. The first thought, as soon as they lose the ball now, Real Madrid, is to get back into a good shape.
It was hard to work out what their shape was in the first half to get back into. Maybe the players felt the uncertainty of that.
And I still think there's not quite sure what's. Here's the moment where Chilwell wanted a foul. He was putting his arm into Carvajal, but Carvajal did give him a shove. And that's the foul that they didn't like, the Real Madrid staff.
Yeah, broke to Modric, who then gave the ball away. Conte almost getting away, and he's actually outrun Toni Kroos, who, in his efforts to try and curb it, has got a yellow card.
Yeah, that was a big moment as well. Conte was away. Toni Kroos was always struggling to get back there, had to make the slide challenge. Gave him a little nudge, grabbed hold of his arm as well, then flew into the challenge. That's certainly worthy of a yellow card.
Chelsea make their way forward, coming up to the hour mark. Can they regain the lead here? The team in blue from London.
A lot of space to hit this ball in and around the penalty spot area.
Exactly what they do. Varane made a good contact though. And Kroos was this time not the guilty party. He was the victim of that challenge. Although he's not quick, he was screening the ball cleverly, and he knew what was coming, and he knew he'd get the free kick, and Real Madrid can get back on the ball.
He was going nowhere, was he? Knew that a couple of players were chasing him down. He just put his arm out, felt the contact from Rudiger.
Here's Marcelo. It's been the occasional contribution from Vinicius Junior, and that one's cut short by the offside flag. He is brimming with potential, and in the game against Liverpool that all came to the fore. It hasn't quite tonight, and was close, but yes.
He was helped in that game by Liverpool by the positioning of Alexander-Arnold, who didn't actually go back and mark him. He stayed high up the field at times. There was lots of space for Vinicius Junior to run into.
That was a mistake by Cesar Azpilicueta. It needed an acrobatic recovery from Thiago Silva. Helped the captain out. He's beaten to it by Vinicius Junior there. Here's Modric. Kroos. Modric taking Azpilicueta with him. The defender got a good challenge in. Has been playing more as the right side centre back in the 3 rather than out there on the right wing back.
It was Antonio Conte that first played him as a right-sided centre half, wasn't it? In that back 3 when Chelsea won the title. He did a very good job.
Cramped up a bit here. Maybe we are going to see Eden Hazard. In by Vinicius Junior. It's not the worst ball. Benzema trying to get across his man. Reece James on the right. Hakim Ziyech. Another play getting ready.
I think both coaches just feel it's gone a bit stale in this second half. How can they liven things up?
Mistakes don't help. Conte again recovers well. Vinicius Junior just caught, his pocket was picked. Chelsea give it away in their own territory again. Benzema, as Casemiro strode forward. Now Modric. Dani Carvajal. Benzema trying to spin it out to Marcelo. And Christensen needed a bit of chasing down by Pulisic. Well, suddenly thinking there might be a press on here. Chelsea, who were sharp and snappy for the opening half an hour, just being maybe a little bit more cautious, but also maybe a little bit more dangerous to their own goal. They played it out better here, only as far as Militao. Real sensing they might grab the ball further forward on a more regular basis now.
Yeah, their closing down has been a lot better. They've been better organised in this second half. There's not been the space for Conte to run in behind their midfield. And Pulisic has come off. He hasn't had space to get himself turned and run with the ball.
Here's Militao. Yeah, Thomas Tuchel is going to go with a triple substitution. He's smelt the danger, if you like. Modric. and Vinicius Jr. in the middle. His Carvajal cropping up well away from his natural birth, and Marcelo knows what's coming. That was with a hint of desperation, because Pulisic is still full of running. Can't get the ball to him. Look how deep he was to even get possession. Chelsea were getting the ball up to him much further up the pitch in the first half. Confirmation of the yellow card and the arrival of Eden Hazard. "11 injuries in almost 2 seasons here have cut his contributions down to a bare minimum. And he's given the chance to use the incentive of showing Chelsea what they had in their own locker for such a long period. So Pulisic is off for Ziyech, who scored the winner in the FA Cup semi-final recently, knock out Manchester City. The man who made it for him, though, comes off, Timo Werner, for Kai Havertz. And Reece James is the last to arrive. Azpilicueta has to give way to a much more natural right wing back.
Yeah, I think he had a touch of cramp as well, didn't he? It's a lot harder playing as a wing back than it is playing on the right hand side of a back three. There's a lot more ground to cover.
Yeah, and even though you're a fit athletic footballer, you're suddenly doing that much more running. Having played in another position for most of the season, there is change. Sometimes something like going away on international duty and doing a whole set of different training exercises can bring injuries to even seemingly the most fit of players. Their bodies are used to a certain way, and in positional play, a certain type of football activity. But here's Havertz and Ziyech, another two of the rivals in the summer, like Chilwell as well. Jorginho's taken on the captain's armband. Christensen's on the ball here. We're halfway through the second half. We are as we were at half-time on the scoreline, 1-1. Jorginho.
Does look as though it's going to be a front two for Chelsea of Ziyech and Havertz. Mount will go and join them as much as he can from this left-hand side, inside left position. James, we know, loves to get forward down that right-hand side. He's probably better, as you mentioned, in the attacking areas than Azpilicueta.
He's on the move, but a more safe pass from Jorginho. Now it's out to Reece James. He's only just reached 50 appearances for Chelsea. He's also played 5 times for England. To tell you about his development, here's Ziyech. Chilwell. Mount tried to make space for the shot. He might still have one, got by Varane. Rudiger. Fresh legs giving fresh impetus to Chelsea here. Mount. Now Jorginho. Real Madrid saying, come and break us down if you can. Chilwell. Ziyech, who helped Ajax, of course, to the semi-final, that extraordinary semi-final against Spurs a couple of years ago. Rudiger. Now Jorginho. Havertz. James with the cross. Chelsea have quickly adapted to the new arrivals.
Yeah, they certainly have. They're not playing as out-and-out centre forwards. They're just coming off slightly. Here's the strike from Mason Mount. Varane gets the block in. You're absolutely right. Real Madrid are defending deeply now, almost saying to Chelsea, yeah, come and break us down. We're not sure you're good enough to break us down with clever play around the box. Yes, you were good in the on the counter-attack in the first half. Have you got the quality in and around the box to cause us problems?
Chilwell complaining about a decision which I think was given, despite his disbelief, as handball by him. It's bold from Thomas Tuchel to make 3 alterations. Havertz, one of those, getting back to regain possession. A bit tight with N'Golo Kanté in there. For a moment, I think Thiago Silva thought Benzema was going to get that. It's just a hint of panic, only a hint. Here's Mount. And Jorginho looking for Reece James coming around the back, but it's just too long for him. But this is more like what we had for half an hour from the Chelsea point of view in the first half.
Yeah, and we were at Wembley for that semi-final against Man City, and they were practicing that throughout the warm-up. That ball from Jorginho to Reece James making that run. He couldn't quite get it right on that occasion. That's the run that Reece James loves to make, from outside to in.
Nicely flicked forward by Modric, held up by Benzema. But the flick didn't come off, and here is Ziyech. Put it just across. Only Havertz had kept up with the play. It was a quick retort from Chelsea after Real were putting 1 or 2 passes together around the halfway line. Shorter numbers in the middle at the end. Marcelo. Christensen the Dane. It's just gone out of play despite James's efforts. Benzema. Chelsea have just left behind them 2 weeks of pretty solid sunshine in the London area, to come south to find it is wet on this Tuesday night. It's a week tomorrow when the second leg will be staged at Stamford Bridge. Hazard wasn't able to make too much room for himself there. It was pretty congested, but here's Ziyech, and Militao couldn't quite prevent the corner, but did prevent the goal, I think, by getting across. It did look as though Ziyech was going to check inside onto his left foot, which is his stronger side.
He had to get this challenge right, didn't he? Almost tries to nutmeg in there, Ziyech, as Militao comes across. He's done quite well again, Militao. When to go into midfield to mark Mason Mount, when to come across and cover the other defenders.
He's back on his feet and back in position. They want to try and keep the corner away from Courtois, who's got such a reach. So it is an outswinger, and Rudiger going for it. Back by Ziyech. And that he was trying to score, but put it into an area where Courtois just had to backpedal a little bit. Is there going to be a third goal here tonight? It'd have great significance, you feel, if there is, for whichever side managed to score it. Modric.
But he's certainly making an impression on the game so far, Ziyech, since he's come on.
35th European semi-final for Real Madrid. It's their 450th European Cup match. Of course, they were the first winners. They represent the history of the competition, really, in one football club. And therefore, it was a big surprise that they were prepared to turn their back on it with the Super League proposal of some 10 days ago.
Real Madrid are now going to make a couple of changes, or getting a couple ready. Asensio being one of them.
And Odriozola.
You'd imagine that would be a straight swap for Carvajal. He's a right back by trade.
Well, you cannot switch off against Karim Benzema. So beautifully pulled out of the air by Varane. And he wins the corner off Christensen.
That's about as good as he could have done there. As you said, he brings it down brilliantly, but he's got his back to goal now.
He'll stay forward. But winning a couple of headers in the box led to Benzema's equalising goal. And they get their first contact here. It drops for Benzema on the volley again, but from much further out. A lot of bodies between him. Marcelo. A touch from Nacho. Hazard. Now Modric. Chelsea trying to push out, but they can't get very far. Modric did well to manufacture a pass out to Casemiro, but he's probably the wrong man in that position. And James thought he could run away with it, but he couldn't. Thomas Tuchel's frustrated because had Reece James just stolen an extra few inches, then Chelsea really would have been on the break.
There was the volley. Conte closing down. Struck it quite nicely, Benzema, but it's never going to trouble Chelsea on that occasion.
You're quite right, Stuart, in Dani Carvajal, who's not played too much in 2021. Alvaro Odriozola, a natural right back, and one left foot for another, if you understand what I mean. Marco Asensio for Marcelo.
Well, I wonder if that will be a change of formation. Just going to a back four, maybe. Nacho at left back.
Jorginho. That's good play by Chelsea. Havertz had a big part in it, and he's still going. Oh, and he's brought down in an area of great danger to Real Madrid. That was as sweeping a counter-attack as Chelsea put together, really, in the second half.
Well, it's a great ball played round the corner by Conte again, into the space for Havertz to run onto. And he didn't fancy his chances 1v1 against Varane. Didn't want to go down the outside. Varane came across and got there quickly. He has won a free kick here. Ziyech or Mount? That's the choice, I would think, for Chelsea.
Not sure whether the referee produced a yellow card there for Varane. Something went back into his pocket. So 12 minutes plus added time to go. Thibaut Courtois looking through the rain, looking through the bodies, trying to make sure that he gets a clear view of whatever. Yes, it was a booking, I thought it was, for the French defender for Real Madrid. Well, it does favour the left footer. And Ziyech certainly has the seniority in terms of experience over Chilwell, who's just standing hands on hips, probably wondering whether, as the years go by, he might get on these free kicks. But it's Ziyech, and Courtois saw it all the way.
Well, Chelsea had a couple of players on the end of the wall. And as you said, he sees it all the way. Took up a good position. Comfortable save in the end for Thibaut Courtois.
Yeah, sometimes the wall can block off the sight of the goalkeeper. When you're as big as Thibaut Courtois, you can see over it. Well, no goals in the second half, but it has been just as absorbing as the first half.
So when you see them set up there, Nacho is at left back, Asensio's further forward. Hazard is coming infield just to try and play alongside Benzema at times.
Kroos. Hazard. Now Modric. Eden Hazard's 30 now, and he did stay loyal to Chelsea, perhaps longer than the pursuing clubs would have wanted. He's that kind of guy. He's a real family man. Probably won't have enjoyed the extra spotlight on him out here in the Spanish capital. Christensen, 10 minutes to go. Chelsea settle for this, Stuart, do you think? 1-1.
I think they'll be happy with the result. I don't think they're going to settle for it. I still think they want to attack. Look at the run there from Conte again. And Casemiro was all over the back of him. Then a strong challenge going in.
Well, after all that, it's a throw to Real Madrid. There were a couple of chances for maybe the referee to see a foul. I guess he got the ball and sort of thrust it through Ziyech. Didn't put up too much resistance.
No, it's whether that follow-through was intentional or not.
It's when you're in the visiting dugout and you think, hang on a minute. But I think the referee's been quite consistent in his willingness to allow a physical edge to this game. Certainly working his way up the pecking order in European football. Danny McAlee. Here is Asensio.
Against Liverpool, he played on the right-hand side of the front three. Did the job very well at times.
Nacho. Asensio. And the offside flag. Well, Sergio Ramos, who must be kicking every ball and aching to get fit again, to get out there. It's a tight one, but it's right.
But he's had enough of the rain, hasn't he?
Well, there have been times where you thought he's had enough of his job.
Well, he did on one occasion, didn't he?
Yeah.
After they beat Liverpool.
Yeah. But it's a perfect fit, it seems, doesn't it? For all the politics that goes on around Real Madrid, that's not even taking into account what's happened in the last 10 days or so. Here's Conte. Beautifully done. Could this be a big moment for Chelsea in this semi-final? Headed out with good distance by Militao in the circumstances. One back by Conte. Kroos gets it back for the home team and gives Benzema something to try and chase. Christensen's there.
Can I say, I think Conte's been back to his very best today, hasn't he? So much of the ball, he's looked athletic, he's gone through challenges, he's made some good passes as well. Final or end product hasn't quite been good enough on a couple of occasions.
Jorginho. Mount nearly got through. It's a knockdown from Chilwell. He was struggling really to get to the ball, the left back, but now, there are times when people say, oh, Conte should just play in front of the back four. That's his game, winning the ball, giving it to somebody else. But there have been managers at Chelsea in his time there who've said, well, we want him to do more than that, like you've seen tonight, where he can express himself, use his pace to run between the lines.
I remember at Leicester, he did both sides of the game, didn't he, alongside Danny Drinkwater in that midfield area.
Winning the league title, the fairy tale Foxes win. Here's Ziyech. Leicester, of course, doing very well again, and they will play Chelsea in the FA Cup final. Chilwell and Conte against their old club. Kroos. Now Nacho. Real Madrid looking for the goal to take a lead to London. Kroos. Happy to get it there again. Between the two centre-backs. It is two now. Modric.
At the moment they can't see a forward pass. Chelsea are blocking off the balls into Benzema, into Hazard.
Yeah, it has been a real feature of what's this, the 22nd game Tuchel has been in charge of. Not a clean sheet tonight, but 16 of the previous 21. The opposition have failed to score.
Well, what he will be disappointed with, Tuchel, for the goal. They didn't just lose one header, they lost three. The first ball was played in. Casemiro won that. Militao won the second one, and Benzema won the third.
Havertz just a little too casual. Chelsea have got a lot of players back, but here's Eden Hazard. Had to make a mark here. Moved away by Christensen. Inside the last 5 minutes. Asensio. Hazard. Odriozola offering himself down the outside, and they've found him, Eden Hazard. Blocked by Rudiger. Chilwell gets there first, prevents the corner.
Oh, what a good pass that was from Hazard. Odriozola making the forward run. Just couldn't find the right cross again.
In the Champions League semi-finals, it's 4 wins apiece between English and Spanish clubs. The outcome of this one is going to be fought out at Stamford Bridge. What a career he's had, Sergio Ramos. Mentioned in passing, he deserves mentions even when he's not playing.
It's just not just for Real Madrid, for the Spanish national team as well. The amount of caps he's got, and he keeps going.
And Real trying to keep going here and turn what was a poor start to their evening into victory with a late flourish. Benzema was a bit lucky that it went to Odriozola. Now Modric. Kroos trying to have a crack. It's deflected, and on a slippery night like tonight, can skid in. It's produced a corner.
Yeah, they have looked threatening from set plays. It's a decent effort. Conte's the player that gets out there and gets half a block on it. It's been the deep corners or deep set plays that have caused them a problem. Varane come round the back, Militao.
Varane's on the move, and it's his dive. But it's deflected for another corner.
Yeah, he'd have scored it. That's what he said.
He's headed in plenty, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's not a good bit of marking by Chilwell up against Varane. Just driven in. That's a chance, a better chance than it looked at first.
I know. She came closer off Ben Chilwell. Taken by Kroos. And Mendy hasn't had too much to do in terms of saves. I guess you'd probably say the same for Courtois, especially in the second half, which has been more attritional. The teams have still spotted chances to go forward, and Rudiger absolutely barreling his way down the touchline until Odriozola comes across, blocks him off, gets the yellow card.
I think Chelsea a bit upset that he actually blew the whistle there, because Conte was going to run onto the ball. He was in open space down the left-hand side. Was a poor challenge by Odriozola.
Part of the problem was the pace, in terms of the injury, the pace that Rudiger was going at. And it was head-to-head.
Yeah. That's a nasty one.
Yeah, and I think in that case, the referee had every right to stop it. It's 1-1. He's just texting. Not that there'll be many people in Spain who are not watching this. It's the reaction on the goal. Could Tuchel take them to the final? Could he play against PSG in the final? He's very good in interviews. He'd be asked a lot of questions before that one if it happened.
Here's the goal again, early on in the game. Rudiger with the ball over the top. Pulisic made the run, showed good composure. It's a good job for Real Madrid that Varane didn't actually stop that with his arm. Here's the response. Big, deep set play in a short corner. They win 3 headers, and the last one, Benzema heads it for himself. And what a volley it was. A man in top form at the moment.
Yeah, 2 outstanding goals in a game that's played in wet conditions, but has whetted the appetite for the second leg. Rudiger's up. A lot of talk, of course, about concussion and what the game should be doing about it, the effects in later life. Chilwell. Two of the 3 added minutes still to go. Chelsea keeping the ball. They couldn't keep the lead, but they, it seems, have stopped Real Madrid using that equaliser and impetus to go on and do even more, particularly in the second half. Here's Jorginho, well read by Odriozola. Modric. And Rudiger has gone away from the scene of the crime. Whether he's going to be called back. It was a minor block compared to the one that he ran into himself, but
yeah, he got himself squared up.
He knew what he was doing.
He did. Modric was just trying to play it round one side of him and run round the other, and he just ran in his way.
Benzema off. And Zidane just explaining why with a minute to go. And Rodrigo, maybe one ball over the top for him to chase. But we're nearly done here in the Alfredo Di Stefano Stadium. Chelsea will be heading for home, heading to the nearby airport with, if it stays like this, pretty reasonable return from the away leg of the semi-final.
Yeah, good result if it does stay this way, but they'll be ruined some of those early chances.
James, no one up by the far post. And maybe this late he would have expected that.
What a moment of brilliance we saw from that man there. Not Marcelo, Benzema
well,
just behind him.
He played a part, Marcelo.
He played his part,
yeah. He crossed it in. So who's happier with this, Stuart?
I think Chelsea have to be away from home, a 1-1 draw, but they should have been up by 2 or 3 in that first half, particularly in that first 20-30 minutes when they had their midfield players running beyond Real Madrid's midfield. They outnumbered them at times. The final pass just wasn't good enough.
Last attack. Christensen can deal with it. Played in unusually difficult conditions for this time of year. In an unusual venue, of course. And it's the hors d'oeuvre, really. The main event now will come in 8 days' time at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea took the lead. An outstanding goal from Christian Pulisic. N'Golo Kanté was splendid throughout the game for Chelsea. And it took an outstanding goal from Karim Benzema, showing again how he has matured and how important he is to Real Madrid, to make sure that they got something from the first leg. Chelsea had those early chances. They played well in patches. Real were more considered in their approach, with Modric and Kroos doing the prompting. Contrasting styles to some effect, really, but it's finished here. Already looking forward to the second leg. It's finished here. Real Madrid 1, Chelsea 1.